Tao Tao On said while chewing gum. He leaned out the window and said to me, Master Shin is here again. I rolled my eyes. Throw the curling rod in his hand onto the table. He is really excited. Is it over or not? Where is the novel based on quality? Wonderful stories are waiting for you. He was reaching out to get the big eggs of potato chips and screaming like a pig. I'm burning to death. I kicked his stool with a regret. The sisters got up and started the war. I shook my hair and put my legs on the table in a bluff. The next second, the main entrance of the classroom was broken. The boy in the lead walked over with a swagger holding a red rose as big as a wash basin. I was choked to death by this vulgar money attack, and quickly covered my ears, but was still forced to hear the other party's affectionate confession. Chin Tao Tao, I like you. I said I beg you, I don't like you at all. He raised his eyebrows and smiled, I just like this or not. I smiled coldly and smashed the rose towards his head. I said, Mr. Shin, you should die of this heart. Everyone present gasped and looked at me and him in horror. As the leader of our school, Chen Xiao is not a paper tiger. It is said that when he was in a group fight with number 2 middle school, he could get 10 of them by himself. The blooming flowers slid from the top of his head, and the rose petals scattered on the ground in a mess. After 3 seconds of silence, he actually smiled, just be happy. I covered my forehead, young Master Shin, you are so crazy. He smiled, think carefully. I said, I have considered it. I opened my fingers to cover his face, I refuse. Chin Xiao shrugged, it doesn't matter, I will come back. He turned around and said in his nasal voice that he thought was charming but was actually disgusting, well, do you regret it? No. I pointed to the big rose that could not even be stuffed into the trash can, and said expressionlessly, please discount it next time? After singing KTV with Aon and the others in the evening, we broke up at the intersection. Darua wanted to speak but stopped, so he looked back at me frequently. I waved my hand impatiently and said, let's go. I think Shin Xiao is pretty good. Daruan said hesitantly, he is handsome, rich and generous, so he is a little fickle, but the key is that he is handsome. If you follow him, you will not suffer any loss. I listened absent-mindedly to the soft words and looked at the traffic light in front of me. A car was speeding past, like a golden stream of light. Aon patted his soft head, stop talking. I went home alone along the alley. After 11 o'clock at night, the street had just woken up. The smoky teppanyaki, the crowded seafood stalls, the deafening singing of Phoenix Legend, the gutter oil that makes people laugh so hard that their chests are stuffy. This place is bizarre and full of poverty and desire. I stepped on the garbage bag without changing my face, raised my head slightly, looked at the colorful sign, blew a chewing gum bubble, and splashed it on my face with a bang. Beside me is a bustling video game city, with a claw machine erected at the door. I pulled my school bag belt, walked to the claw machine, pressed it with my fingers, and then realized that I forgot to put the coins. I touched my whole body and spent all my last penny on KTV just now. I stood in front of the claw machine for another 3 seconds. When I was about to turn around and leave, a hand suddenly stretched out from behind, and 2 coins fell steadily with a clanging sound. I turned around and saw the little girl standing in the rich night. I moved my mouth, didn't say anything, moved the rocker in my hand, and pressed the button. I was stunned. A doll fell out, and people around me looked at each other frequently. I grabbed the doll and walked to him, I gave it to you. He looked at me motionlessly. Take it. I inserted my hands into my pockets and curled my lips sarcastically, I have only a little luck. After moving a few steps, he found that he was still following me. I turned my head impatiently and heard him say, girl, don't go home alone at night. Put away your bad intentions. I sneered, there is no one anymore, so don't pretend. Chen Xiao blinked his eyes, raised his arms, and stretched out his very innocent look. I shouted and walked into the night without looking back. During physical education class, An and Daruan, I sneaked into the garden to enjoy the cool air. We each put on a mask and occupied the stone bench under the sun umbrella. I haven't seen Chen Xiao for 2 days. Will he give up? I'm really not used to it. I said, you must be happy, I will give it to you. How can that be done? A gentleman will not take away what others love. I sat up, looked at the figure of the boy gradually approaching not far away, and said viciously, love it. Mr. Chen walked up to me, Chen Tao Tao, should you go to the movie together this Saturday? Don't go. Chen Xiao smiles, don't be so ruthless, it's your favorite movie. I raised my foot, there is still 1 minute left. So I patiently moved the corners of my mouth and said to him very gently, I won't go. Do you like movies? Then let's go to the amusement park. He said, celebrating your 17th birthday. I was stunned. How did you know my birthday? Use my eyes that are good at discovering love. Then have you noticed that I rolled my eyes? Saturday is April Fool's Day, my stupid young master. What happened to April Fool's Day? He said, is April Fool's birthday not allowed? He tore off the mask from his face expressionlessly, and stood on tiptoe and put it seriously on Chen Xiao's face. He didn't understand why, so he didn't dare to move, and opened his mouth slightly. What are you doing? Have some face. I said. The three of us ran to the convenience store in one breath and stopped panting. An said, Tao Tao, you are so cool. You are probably the only one in the world who dares to treat Mr. Shin like this. Daruan took 3 deep breaths before stopping and said, Tao Tao, are you really not moved by young Master Chen? If this continues, he will really give up. I interrupted Daruan's words. Do you really think Mr. Chen likes me? Otherwise? Daruan, use your mind to think about it. I said that Mr. Chen has had more girlfriends in his life than you can't wear. Do you think he really has something like true? How can I bear the deep affection of Tao Tao? Then why did he chase you? How could I know? I thought about it seriously while applying sunscreen. Look at me being beautiful? Daruo shook his head. It was impossible. Otherwise, why didn't he like Jingmeng? An clapped his hands, big soft, okay. I raised my eyebrows. Are you looking for death? Did it mean that Cao Cao will arrive? As soon as I finished speaking, Jingmeng, wearing her school uniform, came over. He bought an ice cream cone at the convenience store, sat in the sun and finished bite by bit, then folded the wrapping paper carefully and threw it into the trash can. Look at them. An said, this is what it means to be beautiful. I sneered, what's the use of being beautiful? Can it be eaten as a meal? An and Daesov nodded neatly. A few days later, the three of us wandered around the school after school. When we passed the bulletin board, we saw a crowd of people. Daruan likes to join in the fun the most, so he quickly pulled us over. When I got closer, I realized that Jingmeng was standing in front of the glass window. Her eyes were red and she bit her lips tightly. He reached out to pull the handle of the window, but couldn't open it. A large circle of girls around me pointed and burst into tears from time to time. I heard someone pretending to say, you are April in the world. Ha ha ha, I'm so laughing. I don't know if anyone else is writing love letters. It turns out that our goddess Jing has also come to have a crush on him. Oh my god. I don't know how many boys' hearts will be broken today. Then I saw what was stuck in the window, which was a handwritten love letter. Looking at Jingmeng, who was so angry that she cried, she could easily guess what was going on. My eyes stayed on the word Xinxiao for 3 seconds. 3 seconds later, I bent down, picked up a large stone in the grass, and smashed it hard towards the glass window. After a loud bang, a big hole was smashed into the bulletin board, and the whole audience immediately became silent. Daruo covered his mouth. Oh my god. Tao Tao, your hand. I glanced at the wound that was cut by glass on the back of my hand, and blood was flowing out. I shrugged indifferently and threw the stone on the ground. Whoever talks more will try. No one speaks. Then what else to look at? I said, is there anything to do when I'm full? I looked at the group of girls and glared at Jingmeng with resentment and left one after another. Jingmeng took out a handkerchief from her bag and handed it to me. Thank you. The first time I saw someone using a handkerchief is the color of a peach with a few cherry blossoms embroidered on it. I feel that looking at her a few more looks like she is defiling her cuteness. Less self-indulgent. I looked him up and down and sneered, help you, miss? He looked straight at me, refusing to withdraw his hand holding the handkerchief. I was silent for a moment, and tore off the love letter stuck in the window, which was stained with my blood. I handed him, write another one again. I like this kid, right? I looked at the 2 words Xinxiao on the envelope and curled my lips. This guy is not a good person. At this moment, I heard a smile behind me. It's not good for this classmate to say bad things behind my back. I could guess who the person coming with my toes, so I shrugged, then I'll disturb you. I rudely snatched Jingmeng's handkerchief, kneaded him into a ball, threw him on the ground, then waved his hand, turned around and left. On Saturday, I went out alone. I wore a white skirt for the first time and wandered around the streets without realizing it. I walked to the entrance of the cinema in the city center. I stopped, thought for a while, and walked up to watch the popular movie promotion, which turned out to be all romance movies. I was so amused and laughed. Young Master Chin, why do I like romance movies the most? At this moment, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. I quickly flashed under the tree across the road, hid behind me and poked my head out, and saw Chen Xiao and Jingmeng walking out of the cinema. The handsome boy in a black sweater and the beautiful girl in a white long skirt walked in the crowd, looking very compatible. The sunlight falls on their faces, and that is what youth looks like. I curled my lips and thought to myself, Daruo is so stupid. Love is just a game, who will take it seriously? Peach blossom petals fell, and then I remembered that spring was about to end and the seasons of the year were getting faster. In autumn, the school held its annual sports meeting. An and Daruan were also forced by their class teacher to participate in the long jump and shot throwing events, and I was the only one who survived. I sat in the audience, leisurely applying nail polish. I put 10 bottles of nail polish in front of me, trying to apply rainbow gradient color to my 10 fingers. Suddenly a black shadow fell down and a basketball hit me from nowhere. I raised my head and had no time to dodge. When the basketball was about to hit me, I crossed my hand and slapped the ball to the side. But my nail polish was still knocked down, and it was colorful all over the floor, looking beautiful and lonely. He stood against the setting sun, and there was a faint halo on his body, which was revealed in the slightest. He smiled and frowned and said, "Hello, Chin Tao Tao, you should always agree to him now, right?" I stared blankly at his young and handsome face. The sharp-tongued words in the past were stuck in my throat and could not spit out a word. After a long silence, I said, "Is this really good?" Mr. Chen was stunned. "What did you say?" I turned my head and looked at the students on the sports field below the stage and easily found Jing Meng. The boys lined up and were handing him chocolate. I smiled slightly. The person I like is obviously him. I whistled, "Good-looking, good figure, good grades, my goodness. He is the standard dream lover in your boys' minds." Chin Tao Tao, Xiao Chen, curled his lips and smiled. "Why do I hear this so sore?" I waved my fist and wanted to beat him up. Forget it. I lowered my body, my eyes still resting on Jing Meng, even though I was wearing a red sportswear inside and out. Wear it on him. It can also be youthful and moving. I sighed. "Young master, I admit it. You like someone? Just admit it boldly. Don't wait until you miss it. Wasting your life for another time." "And you?" he said. "Chin Tao Tao, you like someone? Do you dare to admit it?" "I've said it 99 times. I don't like you," I said expressionlessly. "I don't believe it." I stood up, turning back to the sunset. "I really don't know what time you're wasting on me." He turned his head. "Also turn your attention to Jing Meng." After he stared at his back for a long time, I just heard his very light voice. "Why do you think it is?" After that day, Mr. Shen and I began to be cold. He didn't show up in front of me for a long time. Even Daruan noticed. "What's wrong with you two recently? Have you had a quarrel?" An glanced at him strangely. "Which day won't they quarrel?" "That's Jing Meng." Daruan was filled with indignation. "I have always seen Mr. Chin be with him recently, and I'm so angry. I've felt sorry for him before, but it seems that he is beautiful and not a single good thing." I patted Dolly's soft shoulders. Said expressionlessly, "Why am I not a good thing?" An rolled his eyes at me. "Save Daruo from my hands." Question, "Tao Tao, is it really okay? What does it matter?" I stopped. Said lightly, "It's something I don't want anyway." After school in the afternoon, I walked downstairs of the teaching building. I saw Jing Meng drawing a board in front of a huge blackboard. Jing Meng is an art student, 2 levels lower than me. He is very talented in painting, winning international awards many times. He was born into a local famous family. It is said that when he goes to college, he will be sent to the best art school in the UK. I stopped and saw him drawing the sea on the blackboard with watercolor paints. A poem was written in chalk next to me. "Living in this precious world. The sun is gentle and the sun is strong." I stared at the painting for a long time. There is also Jing Meng's slender back. Young Master Shen walked past me. I withdrew my gaze. Neither of us spoke. Jing Meng turned around. Seeing us, I smiled. "Escape. Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen." He waved at him with a smile. I'll turn my head away. Leaving straight away. Where is there any precious thing in the world? I thought with a smile. Anyway, I don't want it. When winter comes. Something happened to Mr. Chen. I heard everyone talking. It seems like there is a gangster in another school. Fall in love with Jing Meng. Take people to the place where he took his painting class on weekends to block people. Before the incident, Jing Meng called Xin Xiao for help. Mr. Chen arrived in time, and the gangster in the lead accidentally injured his eyes. Nothing is wrong? I said, if it were me, I would do this. Daruo made a strange sound. The first time I heard you speak for Mr. Chen. Then he said, don't you feel a little cruel? I sneered. He deserves it because he hurts his eyes. When saying this, I happened to pass by Chen Xiao's classroom door. I paused, turning around and walking the other way. A whole week. Neither he nor Jing Meng came to school. Soon after, Jing Meng's parents handled the transfer procedures for him. I heard that he was sent to a better private international school. Maybe it's because I'm afraid of rumors. It will affect his daily life. Although as rumored, Jing Meng was born with the golden key in her arms. It has always been the fate of the princess. Young Master Chen still has not appeared in everyone's focus. When it has been replaced by the latest celebrity gossip. I heard the news from Xin Xiao again from Daruo's mouth. It seems that his parents paid to settle the matter. But you must send him abroad. It can be considered as avoiding the limelight. Daruan, but guess whose son is Mr. Chen? Who? An looked interested. Think about it with your brain. How many families can there be a surname Chen? After a long time, I just put down the trendy magazines in my hand. The latest winter hairstyle above. I can't learn it no matter what. Big soft. I suddenly asked. Is it Britain? Yes, didn't you hear that Jing Meng would go to the UK in the future? Tao Tao, you are right. Fortunately, you didn't like Mr. Chen. They love and hate, and heroes save the beauty. They are happy a little, and finally they fly together. I heard that both parents have met. This is probably decided. An listened and felt a big kick. The two of them looked at me in unison. I sighed helplessly. I said it, I really don't like him. The last day of December, I saw Mr. Chen. It was raining that day. I went to a nearby convenience store to buy instant noodles. Lights around. There are couples and a family of 3 everywhere. Everyone is happy and sincerely welcomes the arrival of the new year. I am the only one carrying a large bag of instant noodles. It seems so out of place. He drenched me all over. Suddenly someone stood in front of me. He held up a big umbrella. In an instant, my whole body was blocked by the rain. The world became quiet for a moment. I raised my head. I saw Xin Xiao's eyes. Then there was his handsome face. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight. The rain slowly slid down my cheeks. We stood face to face for a long time. He finally spoke. I am leaving tomorrow. I looked at him expressionlessly. Said lightly. Safe all the way. He glared at me fiercely. Do you have nothing else to say? I thought about it. Then nodded. Raised the corner of his mouth. Looking at Xin Xiao in front of him. Look, the person you like is obviously him, you should admit it now, right? Xin Xiao lowered his head. He stared at me with a very tender look. I laughed. Goddess Master Xin is just a brainless person who doesn't even dare to admit that any girl he likes. I have a plastic bag of instant noodles in my hand. I don't know why my hand hurts. I said. You're Madam Chen, you are so pitiful. A long time. He spoke in a hoarse voice. Goodbye Chin Tao Tao. He turned around and left without looking back. I stood alone on the steps for a long time. Watching Qin Xiao's back disappear at the end of the road. The rain was getting heavier and I stood still. This is the first time I have seen Mr. Chen's back. I couldn't say goodbye to him. At the end of winter, I went to the school after Gingmeng transferred. Even I can't explain it clearly. Did you pass by accident? I stood at the door for a long time. Finally saw Jing Meng. He seems to have grown a little taller. Wearing a khaki jacket. Long hair hangs down. Frequently reminding people of looking back. But he is still the same as before. Leave alone. I suddenly remembered the scene of seeing him walking on the school sports field with Mr. Shin. The sun sets. It seems that the two of them are fine. Just walk around the playground. But I am the one who is really doing nothing. I just kept watching that, for some reason. At this moment, looking at Jing Meng's natural back, I actually feel like I am sympathetic. But what qualifications do I have to compare with him? I wanted to shrug myself. Step by step. Until it sinks into the sunset. A year later, Qin Meng went to England and do Yuka Daxiang. That is the country I can only see from movies. They'll probably be there. The days passed quickly after a long separation. It seemed like just blinking. 3 years have passed. When the new love movie is released, I'll ask Owen and Daruan to go and see it together. Then he cried in the eyes of the people around him, and he really couldn't understand. Daruan said that he cried so hard every time. Looks extremely mature. Actually, I haven't even had a relationship. Say it's almost graduated from college. Don't plan to find a boyfriend? Sad Owen said. I glared at them. Then I took out 2 exquisitely wrapped gift boxes from my cry bag and gave them to me. They both took it in confusion. Carefully unpacked the wrapping paper. Then they exclaimed together, "Oh my God." I was watching the car below on the railings like flowing water and horses like dragons, and the wind made my hair messy. After a brief silence, I said I might be leaving for a while. Where to go? I don't know, let's go around. Are you crazy? Don't care about your work? Why do you suddenly give us such a valuable gift? Where did you get the money? What I gave them were 2 diamond-shaped necklaces. My parents gave it to me. I shrugged. Don't everyone say that diamonds are long-lasting? Owen looked into my eyes. What happened? Don't ask anymore, this is something I decided a long time ago. Tao, actually I've wanted to say it for a long time. I always think you are strange, Owen said, and there is a feeling that nothing matters. I smiled, probably. After breaking up with them, I passed the busiest streets in the city center. Luxury stores stand on both sides. There are shiny light bulbs tied to the tree. I stood there and watched for a while. I saw a couple walking out of Chanel. The boy was carrying shopping bags of all sizes. When passing by me, the boy suddenly turned around. I'm in the lights of night. Finally, I saw Chen Xiao's face again. It's been a long time since. Actually, it's not long lost. I think this face always appears in my dreams, chasing me all over the street. He kept saying, "Chen Tao, I like you." What do you like about me? I asked him. Chen Tao, do you really don't remember? I have liked you for many years. He looked at me in a daze. And at this time, he stood beside Jing Meng. He looked at me with the same gaze as in his dream. He is wearing a black down jacket. He looks whiter and whiter. The lights at night are so gentle. It seems that this year's time no longer exists. We are still the teenagers. I smiled. Turn around and mix into the crowd. I walked against the abortion for a long time. Walk all the way to the night alley where you once lived. He still looks like that. All the colors. Lively and crowded. There were people everywhere, rats swaying on the road, and there were snacks along the streets that were dirty but fragrant. I lived alone on this street for 3 years. Owen and Daruan didn't understand why I didn't move to a better place. Just because I can't bear to be so lively and ignited. That video game city is about to go bankrupt. The machine has become very worn. There are not many people. But he still played cheerful pop songs with his trumpet. The claw machine was operating slowly. I stood in front of it. Take out the coin from your pants and throw it in. I adjusted the angle and pressed the start key, which was no different from 7 years ago. But this time, the doll didn't fall down. My good luck has run out. I turned around and saw Xin Xiao, who had been following me. Haven't seen you for a long time. I have looked for you many times, Chen Tao. I can't find you anywhere. I turned my head away. I know he can't find me. So every April 1st I send many gifts. Give Owen and Daysoft. Let them pass it to me. I am angry. He clearly has everything. I heard that Jing Meng has been with him all the time. Why did he come to provoke me? Why do you have to be me? I have told you many times that April 1st is not my birthday, that day is just April Fool's Day. Tao, I have done everything I promised you. Mr. Chen looked into my eyes. I have always been take care of him for you. I raised my eyebrows and smiled. I don't remember at all. I asked you for something ridiculous. He suddenly stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. Put my body against the wall behind. Then he turned his head and kissed me on the lips. Sudden kiss. Just like him. Violent but gentle. Chen Tao, he said, agree, you have never forgotten me. I said it, Major General Chen, put your disguised affection, I won't be fooled. Look at me, Chen Tao, you looked into my eyes and told me the last time you didn't love me. I looked into his eyes. I saw the sunshine and the sea in his eyes. I saw countless stars. I raised my head. I can't watch anymore. I'm afraid I'll collapse in the next second. I shook my head and took a step back. I heard my voice cruel and ruthless. I said, Mr. Chin, I will never love you. I know this will be the last time I see Mr. Chin, and I am as proud as him. Even if you love it. Nor will I allow me to trample on his dignity again and again. One spring years ago, a new patient came beside my bed, an elegant woman. I was amazed at his beauty. I forgot to call him even. He said he voluntarily transferred from Jinka ward. It's too lonely to say that it's just a person living in such a large ward. He has a son of my age who comes to the ward to visit his mother every day at noon and afternoon after school. The woman was unwilling to speak to him. He was bored, so he had to hold a stool and sit next to me and chat with me. He saw me listening to music and asked me casually, "What song are you listening to?" I didn't say anything and handed him the headphones. He smiled and said, "Do you like Jcho too?" I nodded. There was a boy who was lying in his headphones. I want to announce loudly that he was reluctant to leave you. We listened to the songs together for the night. No one spoke in the quiet ward. He looked into my eyes and stretched out his hand. "My name is young Master Chin, where are you?" "Chin Tao Tao." I said, "Peach Blossom Peach, your name sounds so nice." He smiled, with a shallow dimples on the corner of his mouth. He undoubtedly inherited the beauty of a woman. He stared at his face blankly, and couldn't help but think that he would definitely become a very, very handsome man in the future. Maybe it will take a long time to wait. Mr. Chen asked me, "Do you like watching movies?" I shook my head, "I haven't seen a movie." Mr. Chen looked at my light blue striped sick charm and fell into silence. The next day, Mr. Chen actually carried a DV and handed it to the ward. He stunned me. He opened his school bag, filled with movie discs. "What movie do you want to see?" I thought for a while, "I don't know." "Titanic?" His mother suddenly said. I saw Qin Xiao's eyes lit up. That was the first time his mother talked to him in the ward. We began to find a new way of getting along, and the three of us watched the movie together. At that time, we watched many classic old movies together: Smoke of Gunpowder, War, Family, Country, Love, Hate, and Love. I always burst into tears when I saw it. Young Master Chin laughed apart, while his mother stared out the window without saying a word. I have never seen a woman's husband, Qin Xiao's father, in the ward. Later, one time, news was broadcast on TV. The woman stared at the TV intently. The boy rushed up and turned off the TV with a splash. At that time, I always felt that there were only three of us in the world who depended on each other. Later, Chen Xiao's mother's condition became worse and worse, and she fell asleep longer and longer. Whenever that happens, Mr. Shin and I will turn off the TV and listen to music with one headphone. At that time, I like to listen to Jay Chou's Simple Love the most. "I want to take you on a bicycle, I want to watch baseball with you, I want to do this without worry, and keep walking while singing." Later one day, Chen Xiao's mother was suddenly critically ill and was sent to the ICU for emergency treatment. Qin Xiao sat motionlessly in front of the hospital bed. A long time later, I think he must have cried. I said, "Don't be sad, your mom will be fine." Qin Xiao said lightly, "Don't comfort me, I know what disease she has." I shut up. He suddenly realized that I was a patient, too. "Sorry. Actually, I envy you very much. Your mother loves you very much, I love me." Chen Xiao smiled bitterly. He doesn't even want to say something to me. I shook my head and said to him, "That's because he loves you so much. Because I know that there is not much left in my life, you are the last thing he cares about in this world. People, he is afraid that you will not be able to bear her departure, and hopes that you can forget those beautiful memories. It's so sad." Mr. Chen was stunned and stared at me for a long time before whispering, "How could there be such a stupid person in the world? There is no way." I smiled and said, "I can't bear to be sad if I love someone." The sky gradually darkened, and the sunset outside the window was filled with golden light. He asked me, "Tao Tao, where are your parents?" I smiled. He discovered it a long time ago, and no one had ever come to the ward to see me. I replied, "I can't remember what they look like." That time, Mr. Chen's mother was rescued, but the doctor said, "The next time will be very dangerous." On the first day of April, I suddenly said to Mr. Chen, "Can you accompany me to a place today?" Mr. Chen took me out of the hospital. We came to the door of a school, sat under the parasol of the convenience store, and each of us bought a cone ice cream. "Do you know which one is your sister?" he asked me. I shook my head. I learned all the news about their family from my adoptive mother. Later, my adoptive mother left and I never knew about it again. But after hearing from my adoptive mother, she was a very beautiful girl. I smiled and lowered my head, looking at the gradually melting cone in my hand. Very, very, very healthy girl. Mr. Chen reached out and patted my head docilely. You are also very beautiful. Mr. Shin and I were still listening to music with one headphone, one by one until the MP3 was out of power. I saw a girl carrying a drawing board on her back and walked out of the school gate. She was wearing a white skirt and walked lightly. She walked alone on the road, like an angel who had missed the world. My heart moved. I stood up and said to Mr. Chin, "It's him." Mr. Chin glanced at me, walked forward, and called the girl, as if he was looking for her direction. The girl was kind and took him to the bus stop platform, and they stood side by side waiting for the bus. The afterglow of the evening fell on them, and I looked from afar, feeling that everything was beautiful like a painting. After the girl left, Mr. Chin said to me, "It's her." I smiled and said, "My sister is pretty, right? Do you want to tell her?" "No need." I shook my head and cursed the corners of my mouth. She looks very happy. Then I thought for a while, Mr. Chin, if one day, can you take care of her by my side? Mr. Chin raised his head and wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes. Tao Tao, don't be sad. I said, I'm not sad. Having said that, my tears kept flowing out and could not stop them. Mr. Chin stretched out his hand, I hugged him tightly, and then burst into tears in his arms. I said, I am unwilling to accept it, Chin Xiao, I am very unwilling to accept it. Why did they leave me behind? Why don't I want me? Why am I so unlucky? Why do I get this disease? Why am I unwilling to accept it? I want to live. Xin Xiao. I want to live, too. Qin Xiao looked at me crying quietly. Until the lights start. The shops on both sides of the road light up. Qin Xiao said. Wait for me. Half an hour later. He ran back panting. Holding a huge egg-shaped gift in your hand. He breathed a sigh of relief. Happy birthday. Qin Tao Tao shines through the hazy tears. I stared at the handsome face of the boy in a daze. Feel sorry. He stuck out his tongue at me. Peeked at your funeral. I finally stopped crying. Make a wish. He said gently. I closed my eyes. Close your hands. I want someone to love me. More than 10 years ago. My biological parents abandoned me on my birthday. Probably for them. I'm just a joke fooled by God. But fortunately, God did not abandon me completely. He let me meet Mr. Chen. I finally have enough courage. Live with gritted teeth. After that day, not long after, Qin Xiao's mother passed away. Qin Xiao's father sent someone to force him to take him away from the hospital. He wasn't even allowed to attend his mother's funeral. On the day Mr. Chen left, I was having chemotherapy. Back to the ward. There is only one MP3 that has been faded on the empty bed. Soon after, I'm discharged from the hospital. I met Mr. Chen again 2 years later. 2 years is enough to change a person. He became a romantic and elegant playboy. And I became a girl who only knows how to dress up all day long. I know I like beautiful accessories. But I know he and I are not from the same world as me. I'm the only one in my world. He is so beautiful. How do I deserve him? Then the young man shamelessly pursued me. Declare love for me at first sight. I always thought it was just a joke. Only he and I know that we met a long time ago. We had plenty of time at that time. Wearing headphones together. Listen to Jay Chou's songs. Watching Titanic until she burst into tears. Let's watch the sunrise together. Watch the setting sun. Ice cream with chocolate flavor. Wishing peace and joy. We had nothing at that time. Powerless in the face of fate. Only depend on each other. He knows a lot about me. Know the movie I like. I know I like the taste of ice cream. I know what songs I like to listen to. Know my birthday. I know I have a biological sister. I know that my greatest wish in my life is to have someone love me. Xin Shou. There is only one thing. You do not know. That spring, after you left, my condition has worsened. Had a tough time in the ICU ward. Being rescued almost every day. The doctor said there is no way to cure it. Every day of my life is counting down. I'm not a holy mother. Not generous either. I'm really willing to give up my loved one. I can't stand you falling in love with others. I'm narrow-minded. Selfishness. Extremely longing for love. Don't believe in love. Don't believe in forever. Xin Shou. Someone like me. A bad person like me. In my short life, the only thing you can do for you is to forget me. I want to hold your hand like this and never let go. Is love okay? Simple and harmless. But I can't even do such a simplicity. Before entering the operating room, the nurse repeatedly confirmed to me, "Do you really don't need to notify your family and friends?" I looked at the empty ward, smiled gently. That's fine. The peach blossoms outside my window are blooming. But I'm going to wither first. I came to this world alone. Then he left alone. No one knows. Why waste time on someone like me? Chin Tao Tao. Tell me why. I always remember Mr. Shin. In this precious world, you are my sunshine. Gentle. The sun is shining. At the last moment of my life, I remembered his eyes. Like my eyes seeing the sun. See the sea. I saw countless stars. I've sweared to him, I will never love you. Shin Shou. Do you know that moment? I've told a lie. I saw the story of my life in your eyes. But I didn't see tomorrow. Back to the remote city in the south. It's said that people are old.